Imagine someone told you that going into, like, lifelong debt to buy a house absolutely destroys your freedom, but suffering through a massive natural disaster actually doesn't.
Right. You would probably think they were completely out of their mind.
Totally out of their mind. I mean, if you're anything like most of us listening to this right now, someone who loves learning, loves gathering knowledge, you are very used to the standard societal script.
Oh, absolutely.
We're told constantly, right? Build your safety nets, climb the corporate ladder, avoid suffering at literally all costs, and, just surround yourself with institutions that are supposed to protect you.
Yeah, and it is, frankly, the ultimate modern paradox. I mean, we have surrounded ourselves with way more of the supposed security, more roadmaps for a good life than any generation in human history.
Yeah.
And yet, what happens? We end up feeling just completely paralyzed, totally constrained.
Which is exactly why today's deep dive is it's so jarring, but like in the best possible way.
It really is.
Today, we are looking at a philosophical text. It's authored by Xu Feng and edited by Couture, and it's titled Life Unfolds from These Two Purposes.
Right.
And our mission today is to basically cut right through all that modern noise we just talked about. We're going to examine a radically simplified and honestly pretty heavily debated blueprint for human existence.
And what makes this specific text so compelling is just how aggressively it strips away all the excess. The author basically takes the absolute entirety of human existence, like every single bit of our striving, our profound anxieties, all of our spiritual seeking, and just boils it down to two core, completely uncompromising purposes.
So if the author is just totally throwing out our usual roadmaps, what exactly is he replacing them with?
Well, the text argues that the first purpose is navigating our mortal experience. So actively achieving happiness, joy, freedom, and blessing right now.
Okay, and the second?
The second purpose is much bigger. It's the cosmic trajectory of extending life like life as a force to a higher space.
Which, I mean, on the surface, that sounds like pretty standard advice, right? Like, be happy now, prepare your spirit for later.
Sure, it sounds familiar at first glance.
But as we really dig into the source material, the way this text defines what actually holds us back from those goals is, well, it's highly unexpected. It completely challenges all those deeply ingrained ways we think about success and suffering and, well, society in general.
It absolutely does.
So let's start with that first purpose, because before we can even begin to talk about reaching, higher celestial realms, we have to master our immediate reality.
Right, you have to start where you are.
Exactly. And to do this, the text forces us to look at what actually prevents happiness and joy, which is very different from what we only think prevents them.
Yeah, the author draws a very sharp, very unapologetic line here.
Yeah.
And it starts by looking outward, at the natural world and just basic foundational human activities.
Yeah, there's this list in the text that I found fascinating. It lists out all these things that absolutely do not stop our happiness. Things like thriving grass, beautiful flowers, surging rivers, the ever-changing clouds, the sun, the moon, the stars. Basically, the vast majority of natural phenomena simply do not get in the way of our happiness.
And the underlying philosophy there is really vital to understand. The author is establishing that the baseline of the universe is not hostile to your joy.
Right.
The physical world, in its natural state, is entirely neutral, or even supportive. But, the text goes way further than just nature.
Right, it gets into human stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It argues that pure friendship, sweet love, and selfless family affection, none of those stop happiness either.
And here is where it really starts to push against the modern grain for me.
Yeah.
Because the text explicitly states that hard work, plain living, collective games, and even sound sleep do not keep us from being happy. It even goes out of its way to say that laboring like working, exploring, adventuring, they don't hinder our joy at all.
Which runs directly counter to the modern narrative, right? We have this idea that labor or, a lack of luxury is inherently a barrier to a good life.
Yeah, exactly. We always think, if I just didn't have to work, I'd finally be happy.
Right. But the text is arguing that the fundamental actions of existing, exerting effort, moving your body, resting, they are entirely neutral. They are literally just the mechanics of living.
So if plain living and hard work aren't the actual barriers to happiness, what is?
Well, according to the text, the real threats are entirely behavioral and psychological.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
It lists things like chaotic disorder, jealousy, greed, quarreling, paranoia, suppression, and, I love this phrasing, making trouble out of nothing.
Oh, we all know people who do that.
Right. It specifically highlights behaviors like being capricious, unfaithfulness, and deliberately showing off as what it calls falsehoods and ugly things that destroy happiness.
Okay, let's pause right there because I want to really highlight this. The text says hard work and plain living don't stop happiness, but showing off does.
Yes.
That means the author is completely shifting the battlefield inward. Our external material circumstances aren't the actual threat. Our internal state and our ego are.
You hit the nail on the head. The focus is so deeply rooted in internal alignment. Just think about the psychological mechanism behind showing off for a second.
Okay.
When you are showing off, you are no longer actually experiencing your own life.
Oh, wow. That's true.
Instead, you are managing like a public relations campaign for your life. You're taking on this massive cognitive load of trying to constantly control how other people perceive you.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. And that constant state of performance basically severs you from genuine happiness because it requires you to be entirely disconnected from your present authentic self.
I mean, just thinking about living like that makes me tired. And the text makes a very similar, really specific distinction when it comes to joy, right?
It does.
It says that communicating, researching, and mutual aid don't stop joy, but the repression of human nature does. Dissatisfaction with the status quo, the lack of privacy, and this is a big one, the endless pursuit of desires.
Yes. The mechanism behind that endless pursuit of desires is crucial here. It is the absolute core driver of modern dissatisfaction.
It's like, how do I phrase this? It's like being on a treadmill.
Okay, I like that.
You're running these exhausting miles, you're sweating, you're putting in all this incredible, painful effort, but the scenery around you never actually changes.
Right?
You never arrive anywhere. You just get increasingly more tired. And the text is saying that that treadmill is an artificial track. It's keeping us completely apart from actually experiencing our joy.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it.
Yeah.
The treadmill is entirely an artificial construct. And, if internal ego and endless desires are what ruin our happiness and joy, we naturally have to ask about our external constraints next.
Right.
Like, what about the things outside of us that actually tie us down? Which brings us to the text's fascinating and, frankly, highly controversial take on freedom and blessing.
Yeah, this part of the source material, I had to read it 3 times.
I'm not surprised.
Because if you ask someone today what restricts their freedom, they're usually going to point to things like physical hardships
Right.
or a really difficult life situation or financial struggles.
But the text makes this stunning counterclaim. It states that nature and the greatest creator do not restrict our freedom. And then it says very clearly that difficulties, setbacks, suffering, and hardships do not interfere with our freedom either.
Okay, wait. I have a major issue with this.
Figured you might.
The text says that families and religions restrict our freedom, but suffering and hardships don't. That completely flips how society views safety nets.
It does.
I mean, we literally build these institutions like families and religious communities specifically to protect ourselves from that suffering. So how does the author reconcile this, especially when, literally just a moment ago, the text praised selfless family affection as something that doesn't stop happiness?
Right.
But now it lists families as a constraint on freedom.
It sounds like a contradiction, but the distinction the text is making here is incredibly nuanced. When you see it, it really changes everything.
Okay, walk me through it.
We have to completely separate pure human connection from rigid institutions.
Yeah.
Selfless family affection. So the pure love between people, that is natural. It brings blessing. It is like what the text mentions a bit later. Playing, chatting, flirting, drinking refreshing water.
Oh, I loved that line.
Right. That is pure, unburdened human connection.
Okay, so the affection itself, the actual raw human emotion is good.
Yes, exactly. But the family, as a capital I institution alongside religions, political parties, and states, that comes with mandatory obligations, expectations, and rules.
Oh, I see.
The text argues that these institutions, along with things like moral preachment, debts, and possessions, they actively bind our freedoms. They are what the author beautifully describes as the frame and edge of the box section of the circle.
The frame and edge of the box section of the circle. Let's break that down because it's such a heavy metaphor.
Sure. So imagine human life in its natural state as this fluid, completely unbounded circle. But society demands we fit into a box. The edges of that box are the artificial boundaries we just grow up accepting as totally normal.
Like what?
It is the expectation that you must take a job you absolutely hate to pay a mortgage, you really can't afford, just so society considers you a successful adult. That is the frame of the box.
And regarding hardships, I see it now. The text is taking a profoundly internal view of freedom here. Like,
Exactly.
if a sudden storm hits your house, that's a hardship. It doesn't actually take away your freedom. It just means you are currently wet and dealing with a natural phenomenon.
Right.
But signing a 30-year contract to live in a windowless room just so you can afford to impress your neighbors, that takes away your freedom.
That perfectly captures the mechanism. A physical setback might limit your physical comfort temporarily, sure,
Yeah.
but it does not shackle your soul's freedom. A hardship is just a temporary state of the natural world. But a lifelong debt. A societal expectation that you must vote or act a certain way to be a good member of a political party. That fundamentally represses the mind. That is an ongoing, completely self-imposed prison.
Which flows right into the concept of blessing in the text. The author states that blessing is hindered by the anxiety of excessive possession. It is hindered by giving up the present to blindly pursue results and the contradiction between our ideals and our reality.
Oh, and giving up the present to blindly pursue results is an absolute epidemic right now.
It really is.
I mean, how many people are living exactly like that right now, constantly telling themselves, I will finally allow myself to be happy when I get that next promotion, or I'll relax when the mortgage is finally paid off.
We are constantly giving up our actual today for a purely hypothetical tomorrow.
Exactly.
And by doing that, we miss out on the actual real sources of blessing that the text identifies. Things like enjoying tranquility without interference, yearning for beautiful things, and just simply appreciating the beauty of everything with a grateful heart.
So the big question is, how do we operationalize this?
Right. How do we actually use this?
Once you understand the underlying logic of what truly binds you, the ego, the endless desires, the rigid institutional obligations, how do you apply this to the choices you make every single day?
Well, the text provides a surprisingly straightforward, almost binary filter for living.
It does.
It doesn't just say that the pursuit of happiness, joy, freedom, and blessing is like a nice self-care idea. It aggressively describes it as a perfectly justified right.
Yes.
And operating within its own spiritual framework, it calls this pursuit the wish of the greatest creator.
And that framing is deeply intentional. By calling it a divine wish, the text elevates joy. It takes it from being some selfish, trivial indulgence and makes it the paramount, almost sacred goal of mortal life.
And here is the ultimate rule the text gives us, the supreme litmus test for literally every decision.
Let's hear it.
Under the premise of reverence to the greatest creator, nature, and life. Any moral view, value, or method that makes life happy, joyous, free, and blessed is right and acceptable, period.
And the inverse is equally absolute. Anything that hinders them is wrong and unacceptable.
It acts like a spiritual compass. Imagine holding a compass that completely ignores all your societal baggage, all the expectations of your peers, all that heavy moralizing from institutions.
Yeah.
And it simply points true north, solely toward genuine, unburdened well-being.
Think about how you, like anyone listening to us right now, could apply this exact filter to your next major career choice or a relationship choice.
Oh, that's a great exercise.
Just ask yourself, does this new job offer actually make your life more free and joyous? Or does it just increase your excessive possessions and the profound anxiety that inevitably comes with them?
Right.
Does a specific relationship allow you to enjoy tranquility and selfless affection? Or is it just filled with paranoia, jealousy, and chaotic disorder?
And if it is the latter, the text gives you permission. Actually, no, it demands that you reject it.
Absolutely.
It says that following this rule clears up life, allowing us to distinguish truth from falseness in everything so we can finally live without regrets.
It demands that we rigorously cut out the falsehoods that are draining our energy. It's really a radical simplification of ethics. If it brings true joy and freedom, it is right. If it binds your soul in artificial debts, it is wrong.
That sounds incredibly freeing, honestly. But I have to admit, reading this, a huge question immediately popped into my head.
What was it?
If the ultimate goal is just to play, flirt, drink refreshing water, and be happy, isn't that just pure hedonism?
Oh.
Like, are we just supposed to lounge by a beautiful stream all day and completely ignore the rest of the universe?
Yeah, that hedonism critique is completely valid. If we just stop at maximizing our present joy, we absolutely hit a wall.
Right.
And the author absolutely anticipates this. Which brings us to the crucial second purpose of life. This shifts our focus entirely from mastering the mortal experience to this massive cosmic trajectory.
Right. The text states that the second purpose is to extend life, and that's spelled with a capital L, I-F-E, to a higher level of space. which it refers to as the celestial world or heaven.
This is where the framework expands from just the daily grind to the eternal. The text uses this beautiful, very urgent metaphor to explain why this second purpose is absolutely necessary.
Oh, I know the one you mean.
It says, life is short, like a colt crossing the river. Centuries pass in the blink of an eye.
A colt crossing the river, just a quick splash, a brief moment of struggle and beauty, and it's over. It really captures the terrifying brevity of our time here.
It really does. And because it is so brief, the text warns us about the psychological dangers of only focusing on the immediate mortal plane.
Right.
If we are not sustained by a more ambitious ideal, if we don't actively pursue this higher celestial space, we run some very specific, really devastating risks.
The text lists them out so bluntly. It says, without that higher ideal, we're likely to lead befuddled lives, commit sins, and become totally disillusioned and frustrated with the mortal world. It says we will wander helplessly, grow dread, and be utterly unable to rise up after we fall.
And the psychology behind that is undeniable. If your only goal in life is to be comfortable and happy in the moment, what happens when a genuine hardship hits?
Everything collapses.
Exactly. We already established that a hardship doesn't restrict your soul, but it certainly isn't fun. If you have no higher trajectory, a major setback can destroy your entire worldview. You become deeply cynical. You retreat.
And we see that happening all around us, don't we? People get burned by the harsh reality of life and they just give up.
Yeah.
So the text says the solution is self-refinement, self-cultivation, and exploring the mysteries of time, space, and life. And it specifically mentions being guided by Lifechanyuan to trek and climb to the highest realm.
Yes, that cultivation is the absolute antidote to the cynicism.
Wait, Lifechanyuan, for those of us listening who might not be super familiar with the terminology here,
Yeah.
what exactly is the text referring to? Is that like a community, a state of mind, or a specific philosophy?
So in the context of the source material, Lifechanyuan represents the ideological community and the specific philosophical pathway that guides this spiritual cultivation.
Okay, got it.
It is the structured avenue the author provides for individuals to actually practice this self-refinement
Yeah.
and prepare their life for that higher celestial space.
That makes sense. But honestly, even understanding that pathway, there is still a massive tension here for me.
And where do you feel the tension?
Well, how do you possibly balance being intensely present, like really appreciating the beauty of a gurgling stream or enjoying a sweet chat with a friend, with this massive, ambitious drive to ascend to a higher celestial space?
Oh, right.
Doesn't the sheer ambition of reaching a higher space naturally pull you out of the present moment, which, as we learned earlier, is literally a barrier to blessing?
It's a brilliant paradox.
Yeah.
But the text resolves this tension by presenting the two purposes not as, like, competing interests fighting for your attention, but as a dual engine.
A dual engine.
Yeah. They require each other to function.
Okay, break that down for me. How does the dual engine work?
Think of it this way. The first purpose, violently protecting your mortal joy and freedom from artificial debts, from institutional boxes and endless desires, that acts as your shield.
Okay.
It prevents the physical world from crushing your spirit. It ensures you don't go fearful or paranoid or totally exhausted by societal expectations. It keeps your daily existence vibrant, light, and full of blessing.
So the first purpose essentially keeps the ship floating and the crew happy.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
But a happy floating ship still needs a destination, right? Otherwise, it is just drifting aimlessly in the ocean.
Right.
That destination is the second purpose. The pursuit of the higher celestial space provides the necessary vector, the forward momentum. It gives your present joy a profound eternal meaning so that you don't just fall into mere hedonism or eventually succumb to the dread of mortality.
Oh, I love that. The joy fuels the journey, and the journey gives profound meaning to the joy.
Exactly. As the text triumphantly concludes, if our lives center on these two objectives together, we will feel clear-minded and enlightened, and I love this quote, the cloud will be lifted. The cloud will be lifted. Wow. You know, when we step back and look at the entire blueprint the text paints here, it is really about operating simultaneously on two axes.
Yes.
Horizontally, in our day-to-day mortal lives, we have to aggressively protect our joy and freedom. We have to recognize that the natural world naturally supports us, and it is the artificial traps, the institutional obligations, the endless treadmill of desires, the exhausting ego of showing off that we have to rigorously cut out.
And then vertically, We must actively cultivate our minds. We must refine ourselves to extend our life force toward a higher celestial space. Because we have to recognize that our time here is just a brief flash, and we need a trajectory that absolutely outlasts this mortal moment. So for you listening to us right now, the next time you feel completely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information in the world, or the weight of a dozen different obligations pulling at you, you can run a quick audit of your day using this exact framework.
I highly recommend doing that. Just ask yourself, is the thing stressing me out right now a genuine natural hardship, which is really just part of the weather of life?
Mm.
Or is it an artificial debt?
Right.
Is it the anxiety of excessive possession stealing my blessing? Does this specific choice point true north toward genuine freedom? Or does it just build another frame and edge around my box?
It is a profoundly effective way to declutter your existence. And as we wrap up this deep dive today, I want to leave you with one final kind of provocative thought to ponder on your
Oh,
own.
let's hear it.
We talked about how the text warns that without a higher ideal, we become disillusioned and frustrated with the mortal world. We learn that life passes like a colt crossing a river.
Right.
But the text also mentions that one of the things bounding our freedom is the limitations of the five elements of space and time.
Which essentially refers to the absolute physical, material boundaries of our current earthly dimension. You know, the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth that make up our finite reality.
Exactly. So ask yourself this. What if the specific, localized anxieties that are stressing you out the most right now, like the mortgage, the office politics, the societal expectations, are entirely bound by those physical limitations of the five elements? What if the things keeping you awake at night are quite literally too small, too physically constrained to even exist in the higher space you're meant to be extending toward?
Viewing your daily stress through that kind of cosmic lens really changes the weight of everything.
It really does. It's definitely something to seriously think about the next time you feel stuck on that endless treadmill.